Hi there, Internet. Michael Besog here. It's the 17th of September 2017, and today we're going to discuss whether or not inflicting physical harm on others in order to prevent them from saying things you don't like is legitimate in civil society. On Thursday, the 14th of September, the political commentator, radio talk show host, lawyer, and author Ben Shapiro gave a talk at Berkeley. As with anything political at Berkeley, Antifa showed up, but this time so did Bay's Stickman and a whole lot of cops. You'll remember from an earlier video I talked about Milo Yiannopoulos going to Berkeley and the police being prevented from intervening to stop Antifa violence. They weren't allowed to. Antifa showed up and protested Milo's speech because they said that his speech was hate speech and that his hate speech was violence against them. Well, this time the police were allowed to prevent the mayhem, and they did so pretty spectacularly. There were a few arrests and an injury, but no fires, no murder. It was basically peaceful. What does this tell us? Antifa are afraid of cops. Good thing, too. But it also reveals something very important. Antifa and their surrogate communist, socialist, Soros-funded protest groups are only condoning violence when it's performed by them on someone else, and they don't believe their own BS beyond the point of physical comfort. You see, some of them would have you believe that they're some sort of revolutionaries, but see, our founders were part of a revolution, and they risked their lives. They did so because they believed what they were fighting for was so important that it was worth their lives. But Antifa only values its own beliefs as equal to, an afternoon in their mom's basement playing Call of Duty. But imagine for a moment, if you will, if everyone believed what Antifa believes. Not the nonsense about communism working or socialism being the future, but that other nonsense about speech being violence. What if everyone believed that speech they didn't agree with was hate speech? I mean, Antifa is judging a 5'9" Jew's speech as Nazi-esque and as destined to destroy the world. So why is it any less true when I call a feminist's speech hate speech towards men? Why don't we treat religious speech as hate speech toward atheists and atheist speech as hate speech toward agnostics? Can you imagine a world in which everyone used the term hate speech to describe any speech they don't agree with? When my boss fires me for using hate speech against a client, which of course would inevitably happen, wouldn't his communication that I was fired be hate speech? I mean, I've got a legitimate injury here. I'm really going to be out of a job if he's allowed to tell me I'm fired. But let's take this a step further. Antifa doesn't just think that speech that they disagree with is hate speech. They think that hate speech, as they've defined it, is violence. And as such, they feel that they have a legitimate right to use physical force to defend themselves against said violence. So using my previous example, let's say our client were to complain that I was using hate speech when I told them the price of our services, because they would disagree with the prices of our services, and then he tried to shoot me. This would cause my boss to try to fire me because he doesn't want bullet holes going through his place of business, and since that's some seriously triggering violence on his behalf, I would have to defend myself by, tossing him through a window. Tell me, does this sound like a civil society to you? You see, Antifa has a monopoly on this whole speech I don't agree with is hate speech, which is violence, which can be defended against with violence, therefore I can kill people I disagree with in self-defense. Logic extreme, if you can call it that. The SJWs of last year had gotten the concept all the way to hate speech is violence, but they had to put on coward masks in order to progress to the next step, which is I can defend against hate speech by killing people. And of course they have a monopoly on it. This isn't the sort of modus operandi you see in a civil society. It is what you see in communist and socialist countries. Killing those who don't agree with you is the only way to make any progress in a totalitarian state. But if we were to live in a civil society, absolute freedom of expression is paramount. That is why it is guaranteed in the First Amendment. We must be able to reasonably expect that our ideas can be expressed openly and respectfully to our community, and that our community will hear and discuss and debate them without threatening our lives. The only people that want to keep you from hearing opposing ideas are the ones that know that their own ideas are nonsense. You see, if someone's afraid to tell you what they think or what their position is on something, it can only be for one of two reasons. Either they believe you will do them harm for their belief, or they believe you will do their belief harm. More often than not, it is the latter. They must defend their weak beliefs. Notice that Antifa doesn't protest for anything. They don't put their own ideas out there. They know their beliefs don't hold merit, so they only protest against things. And these things they protest against are things that will do their beliefs harm. This is what they're really afraid of. They don't think Ben Shapiro is going to speak on a college campus, and suddenly all of the college students will begin gassing or hanging people, even though that's the argument they're making when they call Ben Shapiro a Nazi or a white supremacist. What they're afraid of is that college students will become immune to SJW crap before Antifa has even a chance to vomit those ideas all over them. And they're absolutely right to be afraid of that. And so now anytime someone who can clearly articulate their own ideas comes anywhere near an SJW haven, they are said to be inciting violence. Let's look at this. We know that a call to action is not protected speech. We know I cannot go around during a protest I organize saying, "Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here." That's a call to action. I can reasonably expect violence to ensue at my urging. I would be committing a crime. But I could go around a protest of people who hate men saying that feminism is cancer. That's protected speech. And when the feminists commit violence against me, they would be committing a crime. I would not. You see, I cannot incite violence in those that oppose me. Just as a rape victim does not cause their rapist to commit atrocities, right-thinking political activists do not cause whiny, entitled SJW college students to put on coward masks and hit people while running away. Speech is not violence. There is no such thing as hate speech. And if you're trying to prevent people from hearing a speaker, it's because you know that given the opportunity, their argument will always destroy yours. With that, if you like this video, please click like, and don't forget to share it. Remember, if you don't share, the terrorists win. If you want to see more of this content, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It's been fun for now, be safe, and I hope to see you again soon.